Hello, friend. Do you love stories about things created so brilliantly that time has no power over them? About creations of engineering thought, born in an era when computers occupied entire rooms, yet they remain unsurpassed to this day? If yes, then get comfortable. Because today, we will look into the past to understand one simple secret. True craftsmanship does not age. And at the end, I will share something important with you. Don't fast forward. It's worth it. And remember, our dialogue in the comments and your subscription to the channel are the fuel for new investigations. Write what you think right as you read. Let's go. Imagine a mountain trail. Not a tourist one, but one that winds along the edge of a cliff in the Afghan Hindu Kush or on a Caucasian pass. Its width is a meter, maybe 1.5 at most. Underfoot, crumbling scree. Below, a kilometer-long void. You are an artillery crew commander. You need to deliver firepower to this trail, capable of sweeping an enemy ambush hiding in a cave from the opposite slope. You can't drag a heavy howitzer here. A mortar is good, but its rounds fly on a steep arc and might not reach a target at the same level as you. You need something else. Something that can appear here like a ghost, deliver a steel fist right on target, and disappear just as silently. And such a weapon existed. It was simply called the mountain gun. And for those who served with it, it was the M-99. Not just a number, but a symbol of reliability in the very hell of the Highlands. But to understand the full genius of this gun, we need to take a step back. To an era when the world hung by a thread from nuclear war, yet simultaneously fought countless small wars in mountains and jungles. Historical context. The Cold War and its hot slopes. After World War II, the world split into two camps. There was a race for everything. For intercontinental missiles, for nuclear warheads, for space. Against this backdrop, it's somehow forgotten that the main hostilities were by no means on the fields of a hypothetical battle in Central Europe. Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, countless conflicts in Africa and the Middle East. That's where ideologies and interests truly clashed. And very often in the mountains. And here, NATO countries, primarily the United States, gained a serious advantage: light, mobile, recoilless rifles. Take, for example, the American 75mm recoilless rifle M20. Could be carried and operated by 1 or 2 men. Yes, it had drawbacks. A firing backblast that gave away its position, shorter range, and less shell power. But in the mountains, the main things are speed and weight. And the West was winning this race. And what about the Soviet Army? Its mountain divisions in the Caucasus and Central Asia were still dragging along the mountain gun model 1938. Good, proven weaponry, but heavy, cumbersome, no longer meeting the spirit of the times. The General Staff sounded the alarm. A weapon was needed that combined the power of classical artillery with the passability of a pack mule. A task that seemed to tolerate no half measures. Either power or mobility. Choose one. But Soviet engineers said, no, we'll choose everything. And a project was born, headed by the talented designer Mikhail Yuryevich Tsarolnikov. His design bureau was given a condition bordering on fantasy, to create a gun that would be more powerful than a mortar, could fire both on a flat trajectory like a gun and on a steep trajectory like a howitzer, and at the same time be disassembled into parts weighing no more than 85 kilograms. Why this exact number? It was the load limit for one horse or mule in high-altitude conditions. Mountain warfare is a war of logistics. Where the road ends, the realm of pack animals and helicopters begins. And the weapon had to obey these laws. The economics of genius. Why is simple more expensive? Here, it's worth making a small economic digression. Have you ever wondered why truly simple and reliable things often cost more to develop than complex ones? Because simplicity is the highest form of complexity. To remove the unnecessary, leave only the essence, and do it in such a way that this essence works flawlessly. This takes years of trials, errors, and titanic mental labor. The M-99 project is a prime example. To lighten the gun, it wasn't enough to just make the barrel walls thinner. It was necessary to rethink the entire design from scratch. And they did it. Instead of a solid barrel, a split one appeared. The tube, breech, and jacket were connected by threaded sectors. Imagine a huge, perfectly fitted metal puzzle that, when assembled, becomes a monolith. A crew of 6 could disassemble this structure in 4 minutes. For minutes, and turn the gun into 10 neat packs. Now look at that number, 10 packs. 10 loads for 10 animals or for several helicopter trips. The entire firepower of an artillery battery, capable of moving along goat trails and appearing where it is least expected. This is not just a technical solution. It's a change in the tactics of mountain warfare. An M-99 battery became a ghost. Fired, disassembled, vanished. Try to deliver a counter-battery strike against that. But the engineers went even further. They created a carriage with a variable height of the line of fire. It sounds complicated, but it's ingeniously simple. When you need to fire direct fire at a bunker or vehicle, the gun stands low, stable, as if dug in. And when you need to lob a shell over a mountain ridge and hit the reverse slope, the lower carriage was reconfigured, the breech was raised, and the gun could fire at an angle of plus 70 degrees, almost vertically upward. That's almost a mortar. But a mortar firing a 6-kilogram high-explosive shell with a muzzle velocity of almost 500 meters per second. And to prevent this construction from jumping upon firing at such a crazy angle, a hydropneumatic recoil mechanism was used for the first time in Soviet mountain artillery. It dampened the recoil, allowing the crew to keep the target in their sights even when firing at the sky. Let's look at the numbers that scream about the creator's mastery. Remember, I'm writing them out in words as you requested. Combat weight, 385 kilograms. For comparison, an Italian howitzer of the same period weighed almost 1,300. Transition from travel to combat mode. About 1 minute and 40 seconds. In the mountains, where the situation changes in seconds, this is an eternity. Horizontal traverse angle, 40 degrees. No need to move the entire mount to catch a target to the left or right. Afghanistan, the harsh school and unconditional recognition. And then the moment of truth came. Afghanistan, 1979. A war for which no manuals were written. A war where the spirits of passes and gorges reigned. Heavy equipment was a burden, convoys were targets. The one who was more mobile, cunning, and could strike unexpectedly won. And here the M-99 flourished. Could be towed by a UAZ along a serpentine road, flown in by an Mi-8 helicopter to a remote spot, or simply disassembled and carried by hand by soldiers to a position where even a jeep couldn't go. It was used for everything. As a convoy escort weapon, knocking out firing points from nearby cliffs. As a howitzer, destroying fortress villages. As an anti-tank weapon, its cumulative shell at a distance of 850 meters could penetrate the armor of any armored personnel carrier or pillbox. But its main trick became the Passover method. The gun was placed on a tiny ledge 1.5 meters wide. The barrel was raised almost vertically. The shell flew up, passed over the mountain ridge, which was a physical barrier to everything, and fell right on the head of the enemy, who felt completely safe on the reverse slope. This was artillery judo, using the force of the terrain against the enemy itself. It was valued for its simplicity and reliability. In the mountains, where sand and dust ate away complex mechanisms and frost seized up lubricants, the unpretentious 99th worked. Always. Sunset? No, the eternal life of a classic. It seemed that, with the collapse of the USSR and the advent of precision-guided weapons, such an archaic, at first glance, system would become a thing of the past. It was taken out of production, written off from warehouses, but it returned. Because in the early 2000s, it was still used by the 201st Division in Tajikistan to control the Afghan border. Because in Russian mountain training centers, it is still used to train artillerymen. No modern complex gives such a clear and deep understanding of the basics of ballistics and mountain warfare tactics. It is like a pencil for an artist or a guitar for a musician. Before moving on to digital tablets and synthesizers, you need to master the basics on the classics. Why? Because it perfectly fit its role. It didn't try to be a universal soldier. It was a master of mountain warfare. It couldn't be written off for the same reason a chef's knife isn't written off in the kitchen. There are blenders and food processors, but for delicate work, you need a simple, perfectly balanced, razor-sharp tool. The philosophy of things built to last. You know what the story of the M-99 makes you think about? That true perfection lies not in endlessly adding functions, but in uncompromising adherence to purpose. This gun is an artifact of an era where an engineer thought not about how to impress his superiors, but about how to save a soldier's life on that very mountain trail. He thought about the weight of the pack on the back of a tired soldier, about the seconds that separate life from death during deployment, about the millimeters and degrees that decide whether a shell will hit a cave or strike the rock above it. This story is a monument to clarity of thought. When the task is crystal clear, make a gun for the mountains, nothing else, but make it the best in the world for this one single task. And they did. In our world of endless digital noise, daily updates, and planned obsolescence, such stories warm the soul. They remind us that you can create something that will outlive political systems, economic crises, and technological disruption, simply because it is right, because it is the essence. And now, when I read about new developments about robots and drones, I am sure, somewhere in the highlands at a secret outpost, an old spit-shined M-99 may be standing. And if battle breaks out, it will do its job, because genius has no expiration date. So what do we take away from this story, friend? We take away respect for simplicity born from the most complex reflections. We see how constraints, a pack weight of 85 kilograms, do not shackle genius but channel it into a stream of amazing innovations. We understand that specialization is power. Being the best at one thing is often more valuable than being average at everything. And now my call to you. If this story resonated with you, if you feel the same admiration for human thought as I do, let's discuss it. Write in the comments. What other simple genius amazes you? Maybe it's the engine of the legendary Korn bomber and two, or the design of the Kalashnikov assault rifle, or something from civilian life like the design of a paperclip or the glass Coca-Cola bottle. And, of course, subscribe to the channel, because here we will continue to dig up such stories. Stories of things, ideas, and people who changed the world not with noise, but with the quiet perfection of their work. Such investigations require time and effort, and your subscription is the best signal that someone needs this. Write, argue, suggest topics. Let's preserve the memory of true craftsmanship together. See you in the comments and in the next releases. Peaceful skies above you, my friend. And remember the trails along which a genius gun, disassembled into packs, was once carried.